Gulliver's Travel, written by Jonathan Swift. Once upon a time, there lived a man named Gulliver. He had a great longing to travel around the world. Gulliver loved to talk to people about the experiences he encountered while traveling.
Everybody, listen to my story. It was when I was sailing for the East Indies. The ship met up with a great storm, and many people drowned in the sea. Fortunately, I reached dry land, clinging on to a piece of wood. Upon reaching land, I sank down exhausted and slept. After a while, I woke and tried to rise. But by no means could I stir hand or foot. I found that my body was tightly fastened to the ground. Then, across my body, I saw something. Looking as much as possible, I saw very little men with tiny knives staring at me. I let out such a roar of fright. Then, the scared little men shot arrows like needles into my body. It's hurting! The arrows were little but hurting, so I lay still without moving at all. Probably, I must have been seen like a monster in their eyes. So, in order to show them that I was not a threat to them, I smiled at them. Then, they stopped attacking me and smiled back at me. Then, all of them were gone somewhere. After a while, the little people came back. This time, they came back with a man who seemed to be a very important person. The man climbed up to my face and took a close look at me. I said to him that I wanted something to eat. I'm hungry. Can I eat something? Surprisingly, they understood me very well. After a while, little people came back with a load full of grilled beef and mutton. In a second, I ate up about 8 cows, 12 sheep, and 36 chickens. Then I dropped asleep. They must have mixed a very strong sleeping pill with the food. While I was asleep, they hoisted me and put me on a trolley, pulled by 100 of horses and elephants. And they took me to the city. Thousands of people came out to the street to take a look at me.
Wow, look at those huge shoes! A dozen of us would get in there!
He doesn't look that scary, though! I was taken to the palace of the country. The important person who I saw before was the king of the country. The palace was tiny, but very beautiful. As I greeted the king very politely, the king and the queen gave orders to set me free. Then, I came to stay with them. It was a big hassle for them to cook food for me. I had to eat 60 oxen a day. And 60 servants had to struggle to get me food. And a dozen of cooks had to make food for me. Meantime, the country had a worry. It was at war with its neighboring country for many years. Thinking that the war should be over, I said to the king, "Your Majesty, I'll destroy the enemy at one blow." I believe that we can defeat the enemy with your help. I trust you. I walked to the neighboring country. The ocean was only knee-deep. Walking across the ocean, I made out where the 50 fleet lay, waiting for an attack. I tied up all the 50 fleet with fishing lines and carried them in my hand. Then I gave them as a gift to the king. Then a problem came up. With the 50 fleet, 50 new captains had to be appointed. Please, appoint me as captain.
No, I'm the one who has to be appointed.
The people flocked to become captains. But all the people couldn't be captains. Those who were not selected got mad and rushed to the palace. Then they set fire to the palace. That night, I was sleeping in a factory beside the palace. I smell something. Oh! The palace is on fire! Oh dear! There's not enough water! I ran to the coast and tried to put out the fire with the water brought in my hat. But it wasn't enough. Before the palace burnt to ruins, I had to do something. So after unfastening my waist belt, I pulled down my pants. What the heck? I squirted a stream of water toward the burning palace. Then the fire was out. Thanks, Gulliver. But what's this smell?
Oh, it smells terrible, Your Majesty.
Gulliver, did you put out the fire by any chance with... I'm very sorry, Your Majesty. I had no other choice.
What?
The king and queen fainted. I couldn't live in the country anymore. The queen, who found out how I put out the fire, began to hate me and drive me out. Along the coast, I found a small boat from my ship that was wrecked. I boarded the boat and left the country. Finally, I was saved by a vessel from England and was able to come back home.
Well, it's a lie. Who would believe you?
I thought you wouldn't, but you would believe my story with this.
Gulliver then took something from his pocket. In his palm, there lay a little living cow.
Wow! It's unbelievable that there is such a little cow. You are speaking the truth.
The people couldn't help but believe Gulliver. Gulliver became famous and continued to talk to many people about the awesome experience from his travel.